I grew up around horses all my life, and I suppose I was always going to work with horses. There was a certain time where I went to university for a year to study design. Whilst I was at university in the year previous, I had a point-to-pointer who I used to go around with. I was kind of doing that because my best mate was riding pointers at the time. You know, I loved it as well, and I've always followed racing, and my dad had race horses before I was ever a trainer or Harry was ever a jockey or anything like that. I was at the university, wasn't really enjoying it. Went to Paul Nicholls to sort of learn what to do with this point-to-pointer I had, because it was obvious that I wasn't doing well enough with it. Aside from the fact I couldn't stay on it when I went racing, it wasn't fit enough to win anyway. So I needed to go find out what I was doing wrong, and I went down there and learnt an awful lot in a very short space of time. And then Paul said to my father, if Dan ever wants a job, there's always one for him here. So I asked what job that was, and Paul's reaction was, well, we'll invent one. So I was the first pupil assistant at Ditchit, and I learnt that pupil assistant meant do everything. And then within, I think, six or 8 weeks, I was assistant trainer. The assistant then left, and I got chucked in the deep end. Didn't really know what I was doing, but knew horses, but didn't really understand the racing element of it. 10 years ago, when I started up by myself, I just did everything that he did. We fed the same food, we fed the same supplement. You know, if we went up the hill twice on a Monday we went up twice we just did everything like him. And that ultimately got us going, it got us winners, and you know, of course we were dealing with a different calibre of animal, because you know, I'd gone from working with Keddo Star, Denman and Big Bucks. You know, you realise very quickly that those elite horses, the amount of training that they need is very different to the amount that a not quite so good horse needs. So we had to sort of taper that and tailor it, and then over time, you know, you work out your own facilities, what works, what doesn't, what's effective, what's ineffective. Dad kind of had this perfect vision that I'd be the trainer and Harry'd be the jockey, and I suppose that's come true. Right at the start, when I was show jumping, obviously I just wanted to be like him. I copied everything he did. Unsuccessfully, unfortunately. I just didn't have the talent that he's got. But then once I started racing, he was there as a supporting role. He's there as somebody who can help us with the horse side of it, you know, literally the forelegs and the tail. He can see stuff in horses that's universal. Harry's more than a jockey. You know, Harry helps me all the time, all through the day. You know, he's always thinking, he's ambitious. He knows the racing calendar, you know, he's the perfect help. You know, we've got a great team surrounding us. You know, I've got staff here, I think I've got 4 staff here that worked for me since the very, very start. And I think at the time there was only 5 staff then, so to think that 4 of them have stayed the whole way through is pretty cool. Always having a prospect of a good winner or a great horse is very motivating. But we're lucky, we have a big team, so, you know, safety in numbers, I suppose. You'll always get 1 or 2 spring out the pack, and as you get further into doing it, I suppose, you know, you can sort of get a little bit better at perhaps predicting what they might or might not do.